Hello there. To put it bluntly, the UK has no border controls worthy of the name. As a result, both legal and illegal migration numbers are through the roof. So our new Home Secretary, James Cleverly, is working on a new Rwanda plan to try and stem the flow of rubber boats sailing blithely across the channel and onto our Border Force and RNLI vessels, as well as onto our beaches. And the Express warns us that there's a huge manhunt going on for 6 suspected terrorists who travelled from Syria, then crossed the channel in small boats and landed on our shores. The foreign nationals all have links to Islamist groups and are believed to be backed by terror paymasters Iran. They are thought to be on a mission to target the government or public services. And the report goes on to say they got here weeks ago. It seems that the security forces have a handle on 3 of them, but the other 3, no. Anti-terror chiefs are also aware that attempts to remove them could lead to lengthy legal battles, the report adds. What a shambles our borders and related laws are, all because our governments, plural, are more intent on virtue signalling than securing our borders and safety. But while we're distracted with that, legal migration numbers have rocketed. And they will not be dropping any time soon. In fact, I would bet the numbers will quietly increase in the coming years now that the precedent has been set of allowing in over 1 million people a year, with a net migration level after removing those emigrating of about 500,000 a year. This is why the government is pushing this Rwanda plan. It's a distraction from the real truth of the numbers coming into this country. And don't believe a word of anything that comes out of a minister's mouth on this issue. As far as I'm concerned, this Rwanda plan will be pursued with the intention that it keeps failing. All to try and make it look like the Tories are different to Labour. They are not. Where open borders, net zero and the WHO Health Emergency Treaty are concerned, they are in lockstep with each other. Now, writing in the Telegraph, James Cleverly said, "We are prepared to change our laws and revisit our domestic and international legal obligations so that courts cannot block flights to Rwanda. To this end, we will introduce emergency legislation that confirms that Rwanda is safe and ends the merry-go-round of claims that the policy is illegal." Heard it all before. Never any action though, is there? And with the emergency legislation they're planning on, if the bill they introduce goes far enough, then it will have to have the words on the front of it that it does not comply with the European Convention on Human Rights. Because under the Human Rights Act, all new bills have to state clearly on the front of them to say whether it complies with the ECHR or not. And a statement saying it doesn't will send the lefties and the press into a meltdown with talk about breaking international law and the rest of it. And that includes half the Tory backbenches. At which point the EU Commission and Joe Hair Sniffer Biden will be breathing down our necks. And that's before the members of the House of Lords do all they can to stop it. And if the bill says it is in compliance with the ECHR, then we'll know it's a crock of weak, woke shit. But we've got to the stage now where an Albanian people smuggler is telling the Express that he can earn 50,000 quid a year helping people to get to the UK, where they hope to make a fortune from our extremely lucrative drugs trade. All the people want England because England has money, he said. They come because they want to work in drug houses or have family there. Going on to say that he helped some 6,000 people just last year. And then when we try to deport someone, Either the courts squash it or the local do-gooders come to their rescue. Do you remember the Somali rapist we were deporting back in 2019? Where the passengers on the flight got all lefty-lovey righteous and stopped the takeoff so the deportee ended up staying. Something that caused his victim 5 years of unbelievable torment, reports the Mail. And her message to the super woke do-gooders who cheered when they successfully stopped this departure was, if you were that courageous to stand up for him then, why not now be courageous and apologise for what you did? You are the reason that he was still here. You thought you were being such heroes, but all you did was keep the predator here and torture me for years. Well, after all this time, the UK authorities have at last managed to beat off his human rights claims, dislodge him and send him back. But there's a sting in the tail. It turns out that when he was deported, he was provided with a 14-week stay in a hotel with armed guards, as well as a personalised therapy package, all paid for by us. This is enough to make you weep with frustration, isn't it? And to make things worse, some potential illegal migrants trying to get from Serbia into the EU via Hungary are armed. AP News reported in September that in one sweep, Serbian police picked up hundreds of people and 5 firearms. Then in October, 3 people were killed in a shootout between migrants at the border. A gunman also used a rifle to try and disable border surveillance cameras, while migrants used slingshots and ladders to try and storm the fences. According to reports, it is an attempted takeover of the people smuggling trade by the Taliban, with Hungary's national security advisor saying he had sent information to NATO proving that the Afghan Secret Service was trying to take advantage of Europe's shambolic migration crisis. These are not vulnerable or nice people. We do not need them in the EU, let alone in the UK. This rule of law thing is not working out for the vast majority of us. Why is it that our politicians, civil service, police and courts are so obsessed over the rights of these dangerous lawbreakers than about the rights of the natural people of the UK, who pay their wages, by the way? The only answer now available is that they are either being controlled in some way or are in cahoots with the likes of the WEF, the Bilderbergers and the One World Government United Nations. Everyone in any position of authority seems hell-bent on destroying all our social cohesion and putting as many splits into society as they can. Every move by them ends up with more division. And all the while there has been no planning to cater for the extra 500,000 people added to the population every year. The lack of housing and infrastructure building over decades is astounding, given what's happening right in front of our noses. I can only draw the conclusion that our political masters are not failing to plan, but are actively planning to fail, while insisting that we use the right pronouns and trying to force us all to agree that the scientific truth of man and woman is somehow a lie. At the end of the day, we cannot trust our political class to fix the UK. One day, it might be up to us to take back control.